Josh Green here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by Eddie Hearn. Matchroom weigh-in done and dusted. Sonny Edwards, Andres Campos. Sonny Edwards sells himself, doesn't he?
Yeah, I like, look, we've talked about how good he is. I really rate him as a pound-for-pound top fighter. But I think he's entertaining. He's outspoken. He doesn't care what he says. He's not, sometimes you get a fighter that turns pro and you're like trying to build him in a specific way. I think AJ, in that respect, had such a big team of people around him. Sonny Edwards does it all himself on Twitter. Now he's got us, but I'm never going to say to Sonny Edwards, listen, say this, do this, because he's not going to listen anyway. So I like him. I think he's real. You're not always going to like him, but I think a lot of people do, and he can really fight.
Characters are something that's missing a little, you would say, from boxing, and especially at the top end. He very much fills the void, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think actually that's the case in sport, because sports become very serious because the money gets bigger and bigger. So people now don't really want to be characters. They don't want to do media. They don't want to go out and have a bite to eat in pub. They want to go to bed in an oxygen chamber and get up and do their ice bath in the morning, a bit like me. So what I'm saying is we should embrace those guys. If you look at boxing, the era maybe 10 years ago, and you go DeGale, Groves, Bellew, Hay, Calm, Brook, Froch, do you know what I mean? And I've missed some. But we do miss those rivalries and we do miss those characters, and I think people like Sonny are great for the game.
Nina Hughes achieved her dream by becoming a world champion. Unifying is the next step for her. There's some big fights out there. Ebony Bridges, obviously Shannon Courtney wasn't available for this fight, but could be made in the future possibly.
Yeah, but she's got to win on Saturday. It's not an easy fight actually, but I think Nina Hughes can be a real problem for every bantamweight world champion. But she needs to look good tomorrow night. There's a lot of pressure on her. Even when I saw her get introduced as the reigning world champion, she's like, that's me. She's got to believe in herself and go out there, and I think she'll be in the big unification fights after, hopefully, she wins on Saturday.
David Adelaide's fighting tonight and in line possibly for the British Heavyweight Championship. But another name that's been mentioned is Dave Allen. Now we've seen bits and pieces from Dave at a lower level admittedly, but do you feel like he's ready for that sort of fight against Fabio Wardley?
I mean, look, Fabio has not yet boxed at a particularly high level. His best win's Andy Gorman, right? So, Nathan Gorman as well. But I think that really, so in that respect, Dave Allen I think is a worthy opponent if he's dialed in, if he's in shape, if he's physically and mentally prepared, which I believe he is. The problem is he wasn't for a long time, and people still see him that way and don't want him to get the fight. It's very split. I get loads of messages, thousands a day. Please give Dave Allen a chance. Oh no, don't. He shouldn't box again. I think Dave's in a good place at the moment, but we have to decide really in the coming days who that opponent's going to be, and maybe we'll consider Dave Allen.
Have you had any conversations with Dave about the fight?
He messages me all the time. Messaged me today, I think. Wants to know, but I've got nothing to tell him because there's not been that level of discussion yet, but it's 7 weeks away. So we need to announce next week.
We speak to Mauricio Sullivan recently about Tyson Fury and his place at the moment. Obviously struggling to get a fight over the line. He seems to be going through the top 10, top 15 in the world rankings.
He's not really though, is he? When you say he's going through the top 10 or top 15, he hasn't spoke to Filip Hrgovic. He says Andy Ruiz wanted too much money. He hasn't spoke to, Martin Bakole, who's in the top 15 in the world. He hasn't spoke to, who else is in there that he won't want to fight? Frank Sanchez. It's only certain people that he wants to speak to. Obviously, he wants as much money as possible, and I get that, and that's Anthony Joshua. He's already fought Deontay Wilder. He's not screaming to fight Alexander Usyk. So what's he going to do? And I don't know what. They're in a difficult situation. Without AJ and without Usyk, they don't really have the opportunities to make Fury the money that he wants to fight. So I don't know what they're going to do.
Do you think that's some of the reasoning he's taken such long stints away from boxing as well? He
wants a lot of money. And by the way, he's a massive star. He's a fantastic fighter. He deserves a lot of money, but I just think that his perception of his value in the fight is just different to what the market says. And you can't, it's a bit like having a house and saying, I want 20 million for my house. And the estate agent says, well, we value it at 10. And I've had a couple of offers at 10. No, it's 20. or I ain't selling. All right then, and you never sell it. It's a bit like Tyson Fury. That's why he ain't fighting.
I spoke to Frank Smith earlier, and he believes that Conor Benn, obviously not fighting over in the UK anytime soon with the UCAD, everything going on. But do you feel like Conor Benn out in the next 6 months is a realistic target?
Yeah, for sure. You know, we expect him to fight in September. Look, we'd like him to fight in the UK. And we're going through everything we can, his lawyers, to deal with UCAD and try and find a resolution. If that's not going to happen in time, then I think definitely Abu Dhabi is the place that fight will happen.
It's been spoken out for a while now, but some people believe it's unethical that he is negotiating fights at the moment. We've seen Kell Brook, obviously, Chris Eubank Jr. Do you believe that's the case, and what are your thoughts on it?
He failed a drugs test with VADA. The WBC have heard it. They've reinstated him in the rankings. He can fight anywhere in the world apart from the UK. He hasn't boxed for nearly a year and a half. I mean, you know, any ban that's going to be back is going to be backdated anyway. So, but we're chasing a resolution. He's not hiding. You know, I think that he played it wrong initially, you know, and he went out and he was very bullish, but I think no one's moaning at what he's doing now. But he's also, like I said, he hasn't boxed for nearly a year and a half, and he's ready to fight.
We know he's been back in the ring training for a while now, but do you feel like there will be some ring rush? You say you're nearly 18 months out of the ring.
Dangerous. I mean, that's what you're saying, you know. I mean, people keep saying about, oh, you know, he hasn't had any punishment. I mean, firstly, he was reinstated in rankings. He hasn't been able to fight since April. I'm not saying it's not his fault, because he failed a test, and that's you know, that's the reality. But he still hasn't fought for a year and a half nearly, and you know, it's going to be interesting to see how he looks. But he's sharp as a nail in sparring. Looks fantastic.
Cheers for your time, Eddie.